Good morning, my dear students. Today, in history, we are going to continue the same chapter, that is, the rise of nationalism in Europe. Children, in our yesterday's class, we have studied about the painting of Frederick Sorio, then the French Revolution and the idea of the nation, and Napoleonic Code. And today, children, we are going to study the making of nationalism in Europe, the aristocracy and the new middle class, and the meaning of liberal nationalism. Now, children, before we start the making of nationalism in Europe, we need to understand the composition of Europe that was divided into various kingdoms, duchies, and cantons were ruled by those rulers who had their autonomous territories. Now, children, what is the meaning of canton? It is a subdivision of territory for the purpose of administration in some countries. Duchies, these are the territories which are ruled by duke or duchess. Children, there were people who spoke different languages. Eastern and the Central Europe were under autocratic monarchies. Children, Germany, Italy, and Switzerland were divided into kingdoms, duchies, and cantons. They were ruled by different rulers. Eastern and the Central Europe was under the autocratic kingdom, within the territories of which lived diverse people. These people had nothing common. They did not share any collective identity or a common culture. All of them had different languages and were from different ethnic groups. For example, children, the Habsburg Empire that had its rule over Austria-Hungary was composed of different regions and the people. It included Alpine region, Tyrol, Austria, Sudetenland, and Bohemia. In these areas, the aristocrats were German speaking, whereas it also included Lombardy and Venetia, where people spoke Italian. On the other hand, in Hungary, half of the population spoke Magyar, while the other half spoke a variety of dialects. Children, in Galicia, the aristocrats spoke Polish. Even the peasants that lived in these areas were from different ethnic groups. So now we can easily understand that there was nothing common among these groups. The only common thing was that they had loyalty to the common emperor. Children, once again, just quickly recall the making of nationalism in Europe. First one, there was no nation state because there was no common identity or a culture. People residing in different areas spoke different languages. For example, Hungary, half of the population spoke Magyar, other half spoke variety of dialects, and the Galicia people spoke Polish. That means there was no common language, culture, identity, or the people living in one kingdom or in one area. They used to belong to the different ethnic groups, used to follow the different culture. They don't have any common identity. Now, children, the question here arises is as to how the idea of nationalism arose in these parts then. For that, we have to first understand how the society at these places was divided and what were the issues faced by the common people. Children, the aristocrats were the rich class that was dominating class in Europe. The member of this society had a common way of life. They were the owners of state in a village and also big houses. They spoke French and their families most of the time had matrimonial alliances. However, this group was small in number. The major population comprised of peasants. Children, in Western and the parts of Central Europe, the growth of industrial production and trade meant the growth of town and the emergence of commercial classes, whose existence was based on production for the market. Industrialization began in England in the second half of the 18th century, but in France and the parts of German states it occurred only during the 19th century. In its wake, new social group came into being, a working class population and a middle class made up of industrialists, businessmen, professionals. Children, in Central and the Eastern Europe, these groups were smaller in number till late 19th century. It was among the educated liberal middle classes that the idea of national unity following the abolition of aristocratic privileges gained popularity. Children, till now we have discussed that people in different parts of Europe wanted to have liberal nationalism in their countries. Here the question arises as to what exactly do we mean by liberal nationalism. Children, during the early 19th century, the idea of nationalism and liberalism were closely related to the Europeans. The word liberalism is derived from the Latin word liber, which means free. In Europe, the new middle class saw liberalism as freedom for individuals and equality of all before the law. They stressed for the government elected by the people. Since French Revolution took place, the term liberalism has taken shape into a new meaning, the end of autocracy. It also meant the framing of constitution and formation of government through parliament. 19th century liberals also laid stress upon the right to property. Though people were granted with the equality before the law, still right to vote or suffrage was not granted equally to all citizens. Even in France, when French Revolution took place, the people were granted the right to equality before the law. The right to vote was not given to everyone. Only the men with the property had the right to vote. Men without property and women were excluded from this. It was only for a short period of time when, under the Jacobins, all adult men with or without property enjoyed right to vote. And formation of government through parliament. 19th century liberals also laid stress upon the right to property. Children, though people were granted with the equality before the law, still right to vote or suffrage was not granted equally to all citizens. Even in France, when the French Revolution took place, the people were granted the right to equality before the law. The right to vote was not given to everyone. Only the men with the property had the right to vote. Men without property and women were excluded from this. They were declared as a passive citizen. Women were declared as a passive citizen. It was only for a short period of time or short period under the Jacobins that all the adult men without or with property enjoyed right to vote. Later on, when Napoleon came into power and he introduced Napoleonic Code in 1804, the right of suffrage was limited back to few members of the society. Under this code, women were taken as minor as they were subject to the authority of father and the husbands. So, they had no right to vote. This led to the various movements by women and non-propertied men demanded equal political rights. Children, according to the business point of view, liberalism meant to be the freedom of market and abolition of various types of taxes on the movement of goods and capital. The freedom of market and the abolition of state imposed restrictions was a huge demand made by new middle classes. To understand this, we should take the example of German-speaking regions in the first half of the 19th century. There were about 39 princely states in this region during the first half of the 19th century. Each state had its own currency and weight and measures. If the trader was travelling from Hamburg to Nuremberg in 1833 to sell his goods, he had to pay a custom duty of 5% at 11 custom barriers. Duties were levied according to the weight or measurement of the goods. Each region had different standards of weight and measure, so it took a lot of time to calculate. Children, the measure of cloth, for example, was the elli, which in each region stood for different length. An elli of textile material bought in Frankfurt would get you 54.7 centimeter of cloth, in men's 55.1 centimeter, in Nuremberg 65.6 centimeters, and so on. Such conditions were viewed as optical to economic exchange and growth by the new commercial class, who argued for the creation of a unified economic territory allowing the unhindered movement of goods, people and capital. So, children, in 1834, a custom union or a Zollverein was formed at the initiative of Prussia and joined by most of the German states. The union abolished the tariff barrier and reduced the number of currencies from 30 to 2. The creation of network of railways further stimulated mobility, harnessing economic interest to the national unification. Children, a wave of economic nationalism strengthened and wider nationalist sentiments growing at that time. That's all for today, children. Thank you and have a nice day.